The team were minding their own business one time until they were called by Ashbin for the food fight. Headmaster's office. Ashbin, so about what happened? RWBY, we did clean up after, so what's the big deal about it, sir? Ashbin, it's not that. I know about Mr. Ark and the immediate future. Team RWBY looks to him and he shrugs. Ashbin, are you all filled in as well? Weiss, yes, and actually no. Glinda, what does that mean? Blake, all of us here were brought back from the dead. The two circle members' eyes widened. Young. Yeah, that's our reaction at first, but it seems Jaune was able to preserve our souls. Jaune. Although I don't know how, but I'm thankful I'm not alone back into the past. Pyrrha. All of us possess our prior memories before our death, although mine is shorter than most of them since I died first, because of your plan. Ashbin. Jaune. You plan on extracting the maiden powers and transfer it to Pyrrha as its new host. Glinda. That's... Ashbin. That was our last resort if we were forced to do that. Jaune. Her minions are in your school right about now. He gave them info about the new team on campus. Glinda. How did you? This is secured information. Jaune. 10,000 years and you think I haven't studied coding? Ashbin. That's plenty of time to learn new things. Jaune. Technically old. The circle reviews the info as the faces of these enemies. Glinda. I'll keep an eye out. RWBY. Why can't we just kill them on the spot? Everyone stares at the short red reaper, even Jaune. RWBY, what? We just pull them to a remote part of Beacon and just clap them.
Jaune, RWBY?
RWBY, sorry, it's just... I lost everyone too. Jaune. I understand, Rubes, but we have to be careful with our decisions. I spent 10,000 years preparing for this. RWBY, you're right. Asterisk sigh asterisk after losing Jaune. Dad, and spy I just... Jaune held her hand. Jaune, I know, RWBY, I know. Then Thoros along brother Balthazar teleports and guard their father. Glinda stepped back at the hulking Terminator. Ashbin. Oh, dear. Young. Whoa, it's the Terminator. Balthazar. Yes, Lady Young. Then they were joined by Kitten and Magnus. Magnus. Hey brother, that book you wrote was sure interesting. The intercourse scents were really graphic, but the story building is a masterpiece. Kitten, as expected from the most artisan of the brothers. Then suddenly a blinding flash of light filled the room. Magnus. What the? Oh boy. Jaune. Magnus, what is this? Some sort of chaos sorcery. Magnus. Prepare yourself, brother.
Poof.
Once the light fades, they were in an ornate, massive golden room, and in the center of the room was a huge golden seat, and there lies. Emps. Greetings, humans of the Eastern Fringe. By the right time, Robot and Lion were already there, and they were caught off guard by the numerous guests.
Robot. Magnus.
Magnus. Let me stop you right there, Lord of the Smurfs. Father already pardoned me, so stop with that. Lion. You honestly don't believe we will. Emps psychically karate chops Robot and Lion's heads. Emps, enough. I brought everyone here to bring everyone into the fold. He then looks at the one who stood out the most with his wings covering the girls. Emps, my fabulous little hawk boy. He grabbed Jaune and gave him a big hug. Jaune looks down. Emps, what's wrong? Jaune, even when I gave my life up, you were still interred into this throne. Emps, it is torture, but it keeps the Imperium alive. Besides, I can do this. Meanwhile, in a sector far away, a certain chapter of Astartes were hit with warp storms. Guess what it was? The Minotaur's chapter. Emps. And what you done for me is more than I could ever ask for. Jaune, speaking of that, are you the reason I was reincarnated from two souls? Emps. Yeah, you both needed help, so. Magnus. You gave Sanguinius a second chance at life and gave strength to this Jaune Ark? Emps. His loyalty to his family and friends is a refreshing sight within our Imperium, and it reminds me of another one of my sons. Magnus. My spine reminds me of him too. Kitten, you mean? Magnus. Nope, not that one. It's actually Vulcan. Kitten. Oh. Then a group of space marines entered the throne room. Father? Jaune. What the? Emps. Surprise, son. I brought some of your sons to meet with you. He let John down as he approached the blood angel in question, but what he wore made John stop. John, a blood angel? I don't recognize this design, and Kira, the helmet kinda looks like you. John, if I ever grew old. Foros, that is Chapter Master Dante of the Blood Angels. John, now that you mention it. He flew and charged at RWBY and held the collar of his armor. John, you and your stupid ideas, you fucking smuff. He was literally exuding nothing but rage at that moment. Emps, hee. Lion. Father stopped laughing and helped. Magnus, Kitten, and the Pillar Stodes were all eating popcorn watching the clusterfuck. Dante. Foros. Do not worry, brother. It's Father's regular outbursts, not the Black Rage. Dante, I have been wondering why both Thirst and Rage wasn't appearing amongst the chapters lately. He was just watching alongside the Sanguinary Guard. Dante, wait a second. Father has been in your care?
Foros, yes.
Sanguinary Guard, you're a Lamenter. Foros. And? SG, aren't your chapters the most unfortunate amongst all ours? Foros, ever since the return of our father that has been abolished. I don't know how, but his return has ended our so-called cursed founding. John heard that and raged harder. John, my sons the Lamenters was thrown in this so-called cursed founding. RWBY, I wasn't even around for that. John, regardless, everything is all your fucking Codex's fault. Kitten, that's a bit. Emps, after reading it, I wanted to pour promethium in my eye sockets and claw my mind just to get rid of the stupidity in it. His codex is just as bad as Lorger's pathetic attempts at making fanfiction, or my poems. Everyone looked around, and then a disheveled Primarch appeared out of nowhere. Kitten, oh dear. Vulcan, Brutus. He charges the other Primarchs as they wave their arms and shake their heads, shouting at him no. He grabbed every single one of them and... The Emperor just laughs at the scene.